Good morning. But I've left out later than usual because today I have all the time in the world, so I'm in no rush. This is the hard part of the journey. I'm walking uphill with my weights on my back, so I will speak very slowly. Today, or rather this morning, I will regale you with what went down yesterday when the social worker visited. Bear with me a while. Right, that's better. Anyway, so arrival. I posted a video high noon, so if you grasp my sense of humor, the title was to do with the fact the social worker's visit was at 12. Well, that's the time he gave me. He arrived later, but at almost precisely 12, or perhaps 5 minutes past to be exact. Gosh, I'm huffing and puffing. Right, so about 12:05, the buzzer was pressed and I opened the door to someone who showed me his badge and name tag badge from social services. And presumably the social worker sent him ahead, having briefed him about me, to soften me up. But given that I have discernment, that was a very unwise thing to do. Hold on, let me just conquer this hill. Yes, it was a very unwise thing to do from the perspective that I'm very good at reading, even remotely. I'm very good at reading where people are coming from, what perspective. So anyway, it was, I always, whenever people who I'd rather not see are visiting, I stage the scene. So I had on my shorts, as we would say in Jamaica, my batty rider. I was dressed as though, which I had actually, but normally I change, but I just kept on what I wore back from the gym. You know, like I said, I staged the scene. So, because I'm going to play up, the idea being I'm going to play up that I know something about health and fitness. So, as well, I set up so that I'm working, I'm busy, so that I don't have to engage with them, because I have a deadline, which I do. 50 cushions by Friday, and I'll come back to that. Anyway, so the other one delayed his arrival. Meanwhile, this one is sort of like, wow, what are you doing? Wow, wow, wow. And I'm thinking, do you think you're talking to an idiot? So I planted certain seeds to put a divide between us, and just kept on doing that. And in the meantime, the private detective had I placed a message in the group asking the private detectives if there are any questions that they would like me to pose to the social worker. And they didn't respond, but then later on I got a missed call from the main guy. So we talked and I said, right, the social worker is due to come here and blah, blah, blah. You know, so when, I'm just going to cut to the chase. When he did arrive, no, in fact, I mentioned to the one that was sent to soften me up about the private detectives and other things, such as the bill from social services for my sister, where they've charged for visits that never happened. And also I had mentioned to him that when that social worker, Robert, comes here, I am never pleasant to him. And it is unfortunate that I need to be unpleasant, given that I am a very pleasant person. I need to be unpleasant because that's the only way to make headway sometimes. And all the time he's taking notes. As well, he stepped into the bathroom because he's come to look around the flat, which is a mess because obviously there's evidence of sewing everywhere. There's bags of fabric in my sister's bedroom, rolls of fabric in my sister's bedroom, and making cushions is a very messy business. So there's bits of fabric all over the floor and over my work table, etc. So it looks like a glorified workshop rather than a living accommodation. So he made his notes, but my trump card was that I called the social worker. No, sorry, not the social worker, the private detective, who is a white Englishman. And the reason I did so was because it has his image on WhatsApp. So I purposely called him on WhatsApp so that this other white man, maybe he's 10 years older, maybe the social worker is 10 years older, so that this white man could have an interaction with another white man. And I'm not sort of like pulling the race card here or anything. I'm pulling the taking seriously card because I think he's likely to take, perhaps he might have thought I was bluffing when I talked about a private detective. So just to make it clear, I put him on the phone to speak to the private detective rather than me put questions to him or whatever. And so by the end of the day, the private detective had sent him an email which he copied me into, asking him certain specific questions. How do you know this woman? The one who stole the house and disposed of mother, etc. How do you know her? Because she knows you. So, so it basically just cut to the chase. So now I don't think that he's going to be trying to, if you like, stitch me up. I say stitch up because when people in positions of power and authority can't get the better of you genuinely, they will, depending on the character type. If they are the type who must be obeyed, they will do what they can to stitch you up. And social workers are perfectly capable of doing that. But anyway, so they left with something to think about. As well, I kept going on about money. I just kept going on about how I spend money to keep the operation going. And Adam is like, well, why would you spend your own money? Social services can help. That's the one that came to scout me out. I said, I don't want to have anything to do with social services or the medical profession or anybody. I said, I make my money and I spend it to make life easier for me. And I mentioned that I have somebody that I pay £80 on Saturday to do the cleaning and other things that I don't have time to do. As well, this never fails, I played the Ozzy Osbourne card when he asked what do you do? This was upon arrival. I said, I make bespoke curtains and blinds. And, later on he came and took a seat. I didn't invite him to sit down. He came and sat down in the room while I was cutting. And, continued his questions. He asked, how do I get my work? So I said word of mouth. And I said I don't advertise because when people come to me word of mouth, they already know that they want curtains. So if we're right to advertise, I would end up with a lot of time wasters, which is something I don't do. I don't waste my own time. Well, I don't waste other people's time either. So that were that. So they came. You see, the social worker is always setting his colleagues up because he tells them one thing and then they come there and get something else. I also mentioned that I asked the landlord to increase the rent. And he's like, why did you ask him to increase the rent? I said, so that he will leave us alone. I said, a landlord who is getting a lot of money is a happy landlord. So he's not going to want to disrupt affairs here so long as he's getting the money. Because I asked him to name his price. As long as he's getting the money and he's satisfied, there's no reason why he should be bothering us. So that was that. I mean, there are other things as well. But here is the point of the video. Before I left, I said to my sister, before I left this morning, about the fact my target yesterday was to make 16 cushions. I got to the point of making 4, and I'd completed 2 of them when I checked the size to notice that I'd measured them, or rather I'd failed to include the amount for seams, which is 2 inches. So they were 2 inches too narrow. Sorry, not narrow, too short. Those cushions were the ones I cut while the social worker was in the room with me. This, I didn't get annoyed or angry or anything for having wasted my time and fabric. I took it as evidence to say that it's proof that when we are surrounded by the wrong people, things go wrong. And this helps, is what I said to my sister. This explains why there is so much chaos in society with people getting life wrong. It is, if you're surrounded, if you're involved, if you have people in your life who are no good, who are energetically negative, negativity is what you will receive in your life. Had he not been in the room with me, I would have got my measurements right. Those 4 cushions were the only ones of the many that I cut the day before and yesterday that came out the wrong size. So, the point being, there's one other thing to do with my sister. The social worker who was sent to scout me out came to me and said, they went in there and talked, and he went in there and was talking to her like she's a baby or like she doesn't have her own mind or something. And I know what happens, she plays up to it. So he comes and he says something, some nonsense to me, that because he asked me when was the last time she went outside, and I said March 2021, which is more than 2 years ago. So he asked, do you think maybe it would be good for her to go outside? Maybe she'd like to go outside. I said, how do you propose that? Should I take her down the stairs on my back? So he kept quiet. So then afterwards I was back in the living room cutting fabric, and he came and said, she's saying something about walking. And I said that she's just looking for attention right there, but she's not interested in walking. And I showed him the 1 kilogram dumbbell I bought 2. Bought a pair of dumbbells for her that she can use to exercise while she's sitting in the chair. And I said to him, I can put them in front of her, and if I don't tell her to exercise, she won't do it. I said, so if a person is interested in recovering, they will make the effort. You don't need to tell them what they need to do. They will do it. I said, she doesn't use the weights, so it tells me she's not interested in walking. So he got the point. I don't think, based on the interaction with the private detective, what was said on the phone, I think the social worker will not be barking up any trees with regards to trying to, if you like, stitch me up. So he's got other things to think about, because he is basically somebody of interest in this case of my mother's death. So he needs to hand over whatever, because he said he recorded everything, because he spoke to the woman, the one who sold the house. He will need to hand over all records of communication, and as well he needs to make an account of what business he had with mother. So that's going to be interesting. Good morning. Anyway, I've arrived at the gym. So that's a brief breakdown, but the bottom line is, if you surround yourself with negativity, your life's going to be crap. Despite the fact that I'm living in the conditions that I am, I have perfect peace. I'm loving life. And it's to do with the fact that I'm not surrounded by the wrong influences. All right, take care. Have a good day. Bye-bye.